Well, but there's also window defense among culture. This theology of suffering, and we power, displayed through human beings. Like yesterday, day one, and in our conversation, we walked through a number of key doctrines and themes found in these companies, including false technology, or Elijah as new creations in Christ, and also one in the flesh within. Things are a senior pastor of the Presbyterian Church in Illinois. He's the best author of Gentle Knowing, and his new book is called Ministry in the New Realm, and Theology of Seven Which is our probably short size New Testament theology series. Well, thank you for joining me again. So you open this book on theology of seven things. But quote J.R. Tolkien's book, Theology of Seven, and we're going to love the word grace. But I imagine there's more reason to why you open this book on the theology of seven things. So I'm going to start by reading the book, and then I'll also find that video. If you want just talk about this class, also going to really helpful for how to this class may get attended by a week as muscle as strong. Such is often the course of these that move from the world. Small hands because I must long eyes of the great apostle. I tell you that is absolutely love it. Tell me about it. Strength through weakness, life through death, comfort through affliction, glory through shame. As I remember from the close everything to understand the flow, calling time for all that. One thing has what Paul talking about. One says that we can't actually have more chance of things wrong. Hopefully, as a person, and that's what I say here. Hopefully, we can next with the key process. Yeah, so the cultural message that we are strong. This is both sides. Is not ultimate. What I choose to use. And these guys are comparison to the feeling that the world say we see so much on greatness, faith, power, right? So try to feel culture. You mentioned absolutely the other followers just has the more time to explain. Shooting key to the culture. People root that so deep it's real. In terms of natural innate strength in the world, strength, and it's what people have to do. People have to do very naturally looking at the world. Or starts on degrees, the louder microphones, the bigger crowds. So you can decide to look at how something for you. You know, really down such a powerful. Yes, and you can do that takes for the thing. Take about really what's everything. And it's for the thing. I said that for like after it was like oh so and I said it was already goes on the I saw this in the first strength through this. And it came to me very much. That's all it is. I'm going to say that's what you know. And exactly what policy is that that works that there is that factor of the and this is what that's all. So things you write your first presentation of the apostles. Right? I mean, all the answers you want to make a today, but I'll start before you like drop what I think it's sort of after using the words. I mean, it's not nonsense. Say you might have as a if you look at the other right here, but you can actually well, you don't have that mean how that the world is getting that's what I'm going to do. And second time, as a possible and the whole and all these and all the it is which is not really about some watch. So psychology is massive. So what is that? Is it all things that we have everything has already in the piece of principles has already become those are the same the message of the flag and so has been such a way in watching everything but such a hard right now. So the end contact living in the times and the martyr is the resurrection of Jesus. When you walk out with the new age and so we are going to get we are only also our spiritual ID now says for the system of the and as we basically not half over and every book that placed into the new that launched that's why I have everything live out of life. Yeah, because the nature of the system it that's really actually the idea of like the Christ making over like this is how but I have to all my fears and regrets and nothing flow. You have for example people are coming to I'm immediately I'm over take that thought I was struggling and push to it actually when you fight no sorry read the globe starting to make the wonder but actually you do want to what is it you don't feel like you don't feel like actually I'm for people sometimes I think it's how can I feel like okay so some feel like now I think I was actually sorry with the full state after I'm going to do something Michael I'm told it feels like you're safe on my way into it well I never thought worry about it yeah it's not really just like watch it's not yeah because then I'm like I'm watching that with a circle manager that you're now the world's going to be all of you keep asking questions we have a model for the so I'm going to process and then get to the organization so first one of is actually we're all others is right and all others is about yes in West and figure out lots of things just around when I'm trying to think about is actually the kind of world of there's a world of those things that I'm going to I think that's what we're doing so all the concepts about yes I think there's a giant sense of sense what I was like just the sense of because it's going to reflect attitudes in all the yeah emotionally lost and it's getting first here's what I'm saying here's why I'm president I'm saying all the time people when God would say anything to people do that I'm going to do this for you why would do that for you because my every time I cause passion there is forgiveness and salvation help comfort those causes which are words from our evil words walk out and walk on flesh because we're going to in Jesus Christ's life and resurrection clinch all those causes and cause them to be universally decisively true for anyone who gets into it so the causes of life land on and are inherited by anyone who's in Jesus Christ whether they are part of or not so Jesus is the one who proves who fulfills clinches who decisively yes so so all these promises you have to do comes in for physical blessing that's what we say all the time yes but it depends on what one needs to but in my spiritual there is no not going to be concrete or physical manifestation of no yes we all work on this kind of this earth but physical object and drink and so but yes I think you have first try to Jew in order to then be part of the concept into the Jews because Jesus is one who was the Jew he was the final because he didn't get the hospital so in other words one of the things is our work is all contrast the light over culture that's in our lives with the early word experience of the age of because we're something that has in the market is, that's the pattern, and inevitable, that's the result. How is it always acceptable? But I do know that actually actual Christ rules rates, and that's the divided by part of that, and we're not going to so I don't know but we have great confidence that these people are going to work in Christ and so the conversation, it just get interesting and focus a lot on the Bible after below Christ. There is this conversation. Another well-known verse, 5:17. It goes into verse 1. If anyone in Christ is a new creation, the old things are old and new. That's not when we start by first telling like misunderstanding. What is conversation? It is over. So therefore, if anyone in Christ, no condemnation. Also, second saying, if anyone in Christ, new creation, what do you mean? New creation, new creation, something, new creation. What do you mean? If anyone in Christ is or we might say anyone in Christ is a new creation. But it's still not quite there. Paul saying, when if anyone is in Christ, so with the Holy Spirit, and plugging into Jesus Christ, there's a you can't get in Christ. Jesus Christ, back down into His spirit, if you get in it, by God given faith, then you are also necessarily at the same time ushered into the divine new creation. So this new realm that washed quietly in the cosmos when Jesus walked out of the tomb, and when the Spirit sent His Spirit, we are now in the new creation, and everything that means but Jesus is actually begun. It doesn't feel like it because the old fallen age is overlaid with the new creation. But for the Lord Church is the reflection of the reality of the new creation in this miserable, dark, fallen, sinful world. And so we have been pulled into that. It's almost like the church is a new garden that we have been put into pretend and the fruit of and so on. Until Christ comes the second time, and the old age passes over. So for us, the old has passed away and the new has come. That is what finds we are when we know start to blend flesh. We are not in the zone. Yeah, this is one of those requires us to have faith. Believe in the things in the old testament. Right up the classic passage. Also, I this verse I can say remember wrestle with. Paul says, "For he made him to be sin, who knew no sin, so that anything might be righteous." But not going on there, not pronouns in that verse. How does it say why is who is all the points? And then Peter, how do you call someone sin? These are deep theological ones. We might tread carefully, but hold on to that. So you don't talk about reconciliation. Christ comes so that sinners can be reconciled. That's not it. So not just that's moral. It's not saying that's covenant. It's not adoption. That's family. Reconciliation is friendship. That's not what we do. That's what we're going to use. Works range. Now we're reconciled. Okay, now second verse 1 to 4. I was saying, God the Father made him Christ the Son to be sin. That does not mean become unlike what making sinful. But we don't have to discuss terms of being like keep their objective on subject or objectively sins all those who was reconciled. Those words made him to be sin who knew no sin. So Christ came into the world. It says we are outside of the world and we know we do not do something so we all of us do something we do. He's the one who comes back. What comes there? No one was ever taken over. Second, when we went on the cross, the whole object is such on the cross. He was swallowed and breaking down. He treated as he was the only one who was and we see the third condemnation that all our group is a need to be sin who knows sin. If he take out all who knows who knows sin. So that's what teach all sin. So in the in Christ being made, he might become the righteous. So like is Christ that came to us and he married and took all our uncleans, all our faiths, all that together and onto us and he gave us. There's also a family that he gave us his righteousness. With the creation, how is the person have promoted? He will make Christ glory by God and he is not only this actually but also for the power against the grace. So we have to be counted before the grace of the Spirit. Righteous, really, yes, and possibly righteous before being courted. It was like a part of the gospel. But it's not the picture of the church. It became saying it sounds like how Christ has changed. This is not what also I think that Christ trying to get how so he was that works. So he did also something he says he has to say like in for the students all knows goes into the really get all this. Yeah, we have a very well known also like about verse 7 about the question. We know about that. I was really worried I don't know I don't know what I'm saying. We should really try to get some better I almost before this. Yeah, it's all of us in the all the way to all the way to all those exact same words used by the devil. So this is the field that is this is death. You think that it was catching on sin? I feel like the heart that you're really worried about using that was not so good result. Very good result. Is beautiful concept of the just one thing that is one thing so maybe it's but it was something so so just so so keep on coming to right because it's to get the first one on the line is looking at the for the passage that is causing the keep on coming to the first one keep on coming so that's really what I'm saying that's saying how the first was how I wrote I did unlock so something that's small that is from people right now, that's all. See the motivation. You don't know what about. It's going to be fantastic. If that would be a typical pastor, that's what you're going to do. Constantly be worrying about my salvation, constantly worrying that fails and casting me. I don't know me. I do my salvation. I don't know. I think that verse is well. Yeah, great question. Rather than changing 31 verse something else. And so, how do I get a very accurate proportion? Extract for the no, take 0 stuff and that's Here's what I want right there. Technically, it's fine. All of your day, all of your that's off. And so, and I'm here. Are you that spirit? Are you done? Are you done? That's what and if you understand all of this, you do all of your unhealthy, superficial, presumptuous Christians. Never will. However, for a lot of you that anyway, that's what I'm going to do. Every Christian is so I think that's a whole ratio. That's the thing. Don't get presumptuous. Don't put in cruise control. All right. There's something about things. All of something takes us. We can't believe it. I think range is so big. It's all these. I think about it. Looking at the how Christ. That's sometimes against it. Sometimes people are against it. Sometimes traces of something. Turn this into that's good. All right. Last time you question. I think a lot of your personal so for yourself, question. So motivate person. The first act is one with Christ. He is him. Enjoy being in the well, here's what here's Paul says in verse 9. He says, "So talk about work of left and right grace. Those are two different solutions. And it's my grace for my always making things. I know what's strong that word. I always want to stay in sweet spot. Powers of God. I was taking on time and that is really power of actual these times. My is how I vision from us. People love you. We just got to safe around. That is where our is system on. If we have the opportunity to therefore and exercise that like rocket. That's what our needs. We help out and go on our team. Not I, not therefore. Okay, I got all right. It's actually coming. Those things keep on. So yeah, I can do this. I don't know the first person. Yeah, but the way you want to talk about guys. All the time. Let's call it. Just like we're going to call it. It's going to be everyone. It's just you are in our house. You'll find yourself there. Visiting that house. But my fault is to die together is to go down longer and to go live up and longer. So you stand up and go down and do this. Go back to us. Go down and Christ word. Here takes back and go down. Flock outside and some of and you have are in my heart to die together and live. Don't let we have set up word that is because you are bound in Christ. Therefore, you're both in some sense in something are in one another in that there is no spirit rock solid in you. So that we use perfect one another also right. When my toe is up, the rest of my life when that is I feel you are in my heart. I love to see myself after God and friend. Other believers in Christ. Some are really in my heart to die together and live. How I so that's the one that's to feel death of Christian Christ. That's the reason why the shock aspect that draws on these people all around and actually got it in the heart. Also, they don't really talk about it. I just want to know. I love it.
70,000 people are here, and Bob Dylan is the reason for it.
A Complete Unknown is now a Golden Globe and Critics' Choice nominee for Best Picture.
For anyone who's gonna hold your attention on stage, you have to kind of be a freak.
Are you a freak?
Also,
Timothy Chalamet astonishes as Bob Dylan, and critics rave Edward Norton is absolutely fantastic.
turn it down! Play it loud!
Don't miss the movie critics rave with pure cinematic magic.
Make some noise, BD.
A Complete Unknown, now playing only in theaters. Rated R, under 17 and admitted without parent.
You chose to hit play on this track list today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called AutoQuote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this track at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer gives you the power to make decisions by letting you choose the coverage that's right for your budget.
Wow, Flo, I've never had that kind of decision power. You know what? I'm picking the next vacation spot.
Isn't your wife set on Portland?
Oh, yeah. Well, then I'm choosing the hotel.
But she has credit card points. Probably makes sense she does that too.
Oh, that's true. But I'm packing my own bag. And that's final!
Enjoy the power of comparing auto rates from us and other insurance companies with Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hello, this is Frank and Graham. I just want to say thank you for your generous support and prayers as we take the gospel of Jesus Christ around the world. The Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, the purpose is to preach and proclaim the gospel, the good news. We've had crusades this year in Mexico City and then Poland and Italy, the UK, and then Vietnam and Laos. Here at home, I went a 10-city tour called the God Loves You Frontera Tour along the U.S.-Mexican border. In storms, we have an incredible team of chaplains. These men and women of God, these chaplains that are ministering to the people who have just been devastated by that storm. And at the Billy Graham Library, we had our 2 millionth visitor this year. Incredible. As we look to 2025, we've got crusades in Africa and Latin America, here in this country and around the world. And I don't know what storms are going to be coming, but I can promise you this. We're going to have men and women of God right there on the ground in those storms, ministering to people in Jesus' name. So thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. We could not do this if it weren't for you. To God be the glory. Thank you.
And all my anxieties, fears, and regrets came flooding. And if you have any friends and conscience, big people on the field, I'm immediately wretched out. Take that thought, let's go. Now, which truth was actually trying to fight. I know someday, we can loaf. Sparkling baby was like, well, actually, you don't this whole point is you don't feel like you are. You don't feel like actually, the people people experience and you just like, I'm going to go back to the so feel like I'm thinking about what is actually it's a sorry day with the full state of energy. I'm totally inconsolable, secure, safe, on my way, in a zone, in a zone. Run away, I never thought to worry about my blood. Yeah, it's not very not just by the launch, there's not anything. Yeah, I said that I'm not working, but I'm not actually watching that. It's your own future. You're now the world's going to be straight. Actually, I'm straight. I want you to practice first. Maybe I'm going to maybe someone like to say across the and then you more the first other is capacity, the ball is like and for all the process of yes, in fact, and a lot of times you around when I'm ready to go. Actually, I got to learn there's a world of those answers that I can first. We have to look at all the problems about yes, if there's a guy that's going to syntax, I'm going to just the syntax of the text will become much less accurate, same thing with all the yeah, you wrong saying and it's getting better. Here's how I say I'm very impressive. I'll say all the things people have. When God would say anything to people, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you. Every my that's every up from the process of every kind of process of every this is how you help those processes which are words from the what all the one because I'm going to go and do something all the processes and cause them to be reversely precisely true. And when we get into the process of God land on and are delivered by anyone who's in Jesus Christ, whether they are that so Jesus is the one who proves and fulfills pledges who decisively calls best for all the experience of the yeah, so someone figured out and realized that all requires to all these concepts you have to do nature, process of land word, physical blessing, that's exactly what we say that all the time and yes, but it depends on what one is experience. Because if we experience that there is no not going to be concrete or physical manifestation of the no, there will be yes, you can all over this kind of thing, this earth, this actual physical life that you enter into, but at the same time, you have to try to become a Jew in order to then be part of the concept of getting to it. Because Jesus is one who will teach you, he will fight every day and get all the consequences. So, one of the things is our Lord 16. We're all contrasted like one of the things that we life. We get early Lord for expectation of what is through, what saying versus how fits, against the progress of you not loving the entire thing, the same forces, but you can't get half of that. Obviously, we're not by front, because it's very outward. So, not starting before, I'm something like yourself, you for his long-term knowledge, you're going to how they work, you're first to one of the things that understand herself as like just and herself as my heart and soul, that was the actual best when you are man and inner and how it's born. And then you have to like right now, that's pretty. That's also not actually biblical purpose. But not just that's on fire and so forth. But the old have to be and the rest of that thing. I want to make you so old is not having so the new is really as I look to so that what happens and you just this story is not my story I was going to have foster vision of the element of the new man of the new man of the new man cultures and things like this is foster we all like to know that it was out there so I was just like found it but it's not just hard to very much it was not just and then that's not the reason why we're make up for all the things that's part of this is actually a part of the word that is supposed to be in it so I was here with the you must be put up I like to take the first time and how that was we'll look at it is it's really about the how that but I'm not going to go on this kind of and now we have the reason I think that others are all we're doing and I'm He was swallowing down, drinking down, being treated as he was taking all the blue all of himself, and was seeing a feather combination that all are blue. He was made to be sin, who knew no sin, him to be taken out all the blue, who knew no sin. Who knew no sin. So that was he took all our sin on. So that in him, in Christ, being united, in him we believers might become the righteousness of God. So like we would say is Christ that light came to us hearts, and he married us, and he took all our filth, all our uncleanness, all our faithlessness, and all our he took all our debts, let us master onto himself and paid it, and he gave to us. There was also the financial transaction between us and his righteousness. Of the great how we said clothing, we were naked, Christ was clothing by robes, and he gave us the robes on our names, and also before the church, our grace. So we actually are counted before the grace of God, counted righteous. We yes, and possibly righteous before God.
Hey, Spotifyers, click or tap the banner to listen to the world's biggest dance and electronic hits. Brought to you by Vitamin Water. Grab a vitamin water today.
With Smart Water's pure, crisp taste, there's nothing to overthink. So while you may be spiraling over whatever the heck red light therapy is, don't overthink how you hydrate. Life's full of choices. Smart Water is the simple one.
What's the reason for it?
A gazillion dollars now golden disappointed critics' choice nominated as Best Picture.
Everyone's gonna hold your attention on stage. It's gonna be a freak. Are you a freak?
Timothy Chalamet astonishes as Bob Dylan, and critics rave. Edward Norton is absolutely fantastic. Critics rave. Pure cinematic. Complete unknown. Now it's rated R. 17 animated about there.
Fiscally responsible, financial genius, monetary magician. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it. So your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
knows this. So I say, you amazing job, Tom. I love you. I love you. That is so funny. Thank you. For more further copies, mystery, technology, which conversations,
The vast majority of the time that the New Testament uses the word group for deacon, the diakonos word group, is actually not referring to the local church office of deacon. It's referring more generally to a servant or a minister. The New Testament uses the noun diakonos 29 times, and all but 3 or 4 of those times are referring to Christians as servants or ministers generally. And yet, there are 3 or 4 times, one of them is debatable, that the New Testament is referring not just to generally servant-hearted persons, but to specific church officers, namely those who have been raised up and deployed by a congregation as exemplary servants to assist the elders by promoting unity, by accelerating the ministry of the word, and by guarding that ministry so that the gospel can advance to the ends of the earth.
Well, it's summarizing in but one says that the history of Thomas Green that's the sensors where we find out the is in realizing that well, that's not that is certain tips into where we will relation to the one of the time would be the first thinking of the history is somewhere because the origin of the product we see inside that stuff you think your names are receiving on Thomas Green technically the origin of the product is institutions of tradition and history and that makes us historic culture the people are introducing institutions of the answer introducing institutions to the old established and also way those things towards the future or towards subject towards those things that serve and you feel good as opposed to those things that realize are a large whole obligations towards a large whole a lot of these things are founded in traditional religion particularly in traditional Christianity historic centrality is from and as you manifest itself through that represent yourself in our world through people the two operations the two finding traditional Christianity is part of the we'll make exception. Yeah, I think some of my critiques of young people kind of stuff. I really love the younger generations. It's a little bit of a different literature context, a little bit of discussion around the local context around the broad words, there's broad words in these hybrid religions. Often about a higher church context. Sometimes we will switch that. It's not just teaching her that or reporting that of self-help that are going to table. Now that they're saying they're going to actually be a deeper sense that people become in this direction, they experience church culture that actually through that. I think the same rather than you know, the church, they just
Find resources and treatment that are right for you. Get help when it's free. Confidential. Always there. Find a pathway to your recovery. Call 802-565 or visit
Critics rave. Edward Newman is absolutely fantastic. Movie critics rave. Cinematic magic. A complete unknown now playing the theaters.
You chose to hit play on this checklist. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called AutoQuote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quotes with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this track at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
The distinction between worldview and world vision was developed by J.H. Babbage in the 1920s, and what he was trying to do in developing this was to tie up a loose end that was left in his uncle Herman Babbitt's work on Christian worldview. For his uncle Herman, a worldview is something that takes a long time to build. You don't just have it automatically. You really have to think carefully and in a pretty rigorous way about the big questions of life in order to have a world and life view. But the unanswered question that Herman left behind was, what about people who don't care about that effort, and who seem to live a lot more passively than actively, or who live on some kind of cultural autopilot setting without ever actually asking, is the way that my culture has taught me to live within the world true or not? So that's a big unanswered question in Herman's work on worldview. And J.H., I think, picks up on that in his book Personality and Worldview, where he tries to answer that by affirming what his uncle had to say about worldview as something like a map that you have to build for yourself. But he asks the question, what about people who don't care about building that map? On what basis do they live? So you could think of a map as a tool of orientation. It's a navigation device, and you use it in a distinct way to navigate the world. But another kind of tool of orientation is a compass. And J.H. Bavinck says that most people actually live unexamined lives, and they're quite happy to do that until something shakes them out of that. And when you're living an unexamined life, really what you have is something more like a compass that orients you in the world. And that's a compass that you are given by your culture, by your parents, maybe by the school that you went through, by particular norms and intuitions that your culture has. And those all will orient your life in a certain direction. And you can use a compass to know which direction you're stepping in for your next step. But you can't use a compass in the same way that you use a map, which is to know that I am here, and 1,000 miles in that direction, there's something else there, and if I want to get from here to there, then the map is the thing that I follow. A compass can't quite orient you in the world like that. So the compass idea for J.H. Bavinck is what he calls a world vision. You have a world vision by virtue of being born in a particular time and place, and that immediate set of circumstances that you're born into will orient you in the world in a particular way. But that culture is actually giving you answers to prior worldview questions. What am I? How am I supposed to live? What is a good life? But it doesn't necessarily tell you that those are answers to prior questions. So you're not maybe aware that there are questions there in the first place. You just live on the basis of answers without asking, are these good answers to those questions? So for J.H. Bavinck, you have to learn to critique your own world vision. Ask, is the compass a good compass? Is the way that it orients my life, is it oriented in the right direction? And the gospel itself is the thing that you use to ask the question of whether the orientation of my life is pointed in the right direction. And the gospel, therefore, reshapes your world vision, or the compass in the first place, and then it develops it to become more like a world view. And instead of just a compass, you then start to build up a map.
Jonathan Edwards preached a sermon where he distinguished between evangelical humiliation and legal humiliation. You have to love the Puritan, old-fashioned language. So legal humiliation, or today we might say humility, or the process of becoming humble, this is something that even the demons experience. You know, he references James 2, where the demons shudder at God. This is a kind of humility that you don't need an awakened heart to experience. Anybody can experience this. It just comes from a sense of God's majesty and dreadfulness and power. We are sort of cowering before God. And then he speaks about evangelical humility. And the word he uses for what produces this kind of humility is the loveliness of God. And he's saying, for an awakened heart, a heart that's been touched by grace, that's been touched by the gospel, there's a different kind of humility that is produced by that. When you think about what Jesus did for you, and it really cracks open in your heart that even for me, despite all of my problems and my repeated cycles of problems, God actually loves me, and my sins are actually forgiven. There's a kind of humility that awakens our hearts as we genuinely find ourselves loving and adoring and thanking God. And the metaphor that I've used to describe this that helps me think about it is, imagine you walk into a great, vast throne room, and the king is sitting up on his exalted throne, and your footsteps are echoing on the marble floor, and the ceiling is way high above, and gold is glittering around, and you're very intimidated, and you're going to stand before the king. This is one kind of feeling of humility. This is what anybody could feel when approaching God God's throne. But then suppose that the king gets off of his throne.
When you have to stop but don't really want to, stop at BP.
He expresses
because
his
BP
relief
has
that you
everything you
can.
need to keep
He
it
ushers you
going.
over to a seat.
Fuel to keep the adventures going. The BP Me app to keep the savings and the commutes going. Snacks and drinks to keep
This is
it
another
going.
experience that's awesome.
And the BP Me Rewards Visa to keep the rewards going and going and going. A stop at BP isn't a stop at all.
And this is what we should feel
Keep it going.
the Lord God because of the gospel. We think
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer gives you the power to make decisions by letting you choose the coverage that's right for your budget.
Wow, Flo, I've never had that kind of decision power. You know what? I'm picking the next vacation spot.
Isn't your wife sitting on the
Well, then I'm choosing the hotel.
But she has credit card points, so probably makes sense she does that too.
But I'm packing my own bag, and that's fine.
Enjoy the power of comparing auto rates from us and other insurance companies with Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer. Also, insurance companies and third-party insurance companies. State your situations, prices, and
awakens this new kind of humanity.
Eat its heroes, and we think, we're listening to the app at PC Game Pass. Want new games on day one like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle? How about living out your Sims life with EA Play? We're talking high-quality PC games all for one low monthly price. We got you. Learn more at xbox.com/PC Game Pass or click the banner. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle available December 9th, 2024. Game catalog varies by region and over time. Okay, that's the ad. You can go back to doing whatever you're doing now.
It's they said, no, a lot of different temporary uses of how many decades ago. I mean, it's not really never, it's called advertising. The point is, the church takes the word during the way, but yeah, we never like any of these, yeah, how we really have the church. We're not doing that. It's in the church. We're going to have these kinds of power starts with the church. So I'm just looking for power. How does that, those two words connect to? Well, power sources, by who? And so the church is in the world, always in our lives, and within this world is through Christ, and Christ, and Christ. Paul said, I'm money. Christ is that sounds like very narrow concern. And it actually isn't. You think we're all very concerned about certain things. We're at room right now. I don't care about no concern. It's not like see here. The narrow is a narrow of Christ sort of stands fixed reason when you're fixed to it's part of the whole. It's really hard work. Is that what we're saying? I'm turning money back. And so it narrows down to that. Which then sees everything. So it sees all of reality. Christ and Christ. That's what it's the master about it. He's about it. But it's Christ. It's power. We are looking at the world. We need to meaning parts. And it's all power to us. And God in the world is Christ. So that so that it's spiritual and takes that into the brain. What is power? He takes that in life others to them. So bring that to them. Maybe like one of the logic of the church. We're just saying the church. You need to help us out. So the church uses it's the ancient world. It's conditioned involved. When told to Christ and Christ is of course the church needs to stay on that path. We're by the end of the world. I'm concerned about how the church is related to the world and defines itself, both in how it distinguishes itself from the world and how it gives itself to the world. So the church has to know who and what it is. It's the church, so that it distinguishes the world, but it gives itself to the world. That's what it is. Jesus is talking for us, and then he talks about wash our feet, and how us go wash our feet, serve others. And this message is a unique message, unique message, and no other agency will have this message. So let the church be church. It's all about the church, and people will learn about how we use church in our lives. That's how change spiritual church. For most churches, how politics, culture, and spiritual church. We don't copy for yourself, or you copy for yourself. You're copying for yourself.
Start small. I think it can be intimidating. You know, when Jesus taught against anxiety, he said, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has no trouble of its own. I think Satan tends to load you up with some huge thing. What this means is for the rest of your life, you're going to do this or that, and it's overwhelming. Don't do that. Do today's work today. And so I would say that with scripture memorization. Start today. What could you do today? Don't worry about memorizing a whole book. Let's start with a verse. Let's get into the habit. And then when you start doing a couple verses,
click or tap the banner to listen to Feeling Myself. The hip-hop playlist, that's a whole mood. Brought to you by Vitamin Water. Grab a Vitamin Water today.
So let's do that, and then kind of talk.
If you order McDonald's right now, you're one step closer to your first bite, and nothing tastes as good. Get a 10-piece chicken McNuggets for just $1, only in the app.
And then little by little,
December 30th, participating McDonald's must opt into a warrant.
My example,
70,000 people are here, and Bob Dylan is the reason for it.
A Complete Unknown is now a Golden Globe and Critics' Choice nominee for Best Picture.
If anyone is going to hold your attention on stage, it's kind of be a freak.
Are you a freak?
Also, Timothy Chalamet astonishes as Bob Dylan, and critics rave. Edward Norton is absolutely fantastic.
Turn it down! Play loud!
Don't miss the movie critics are hailing pure cinematic magic.
Make some noise, BD.
A Complete Unknown, now playing only in theaters. Rated R, under 17 anime without parent.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer gives you the power to make decisions by letting you choose the coverage that's right for your budget.
Wow, Flo, I've never had that kind of decision power. You know what? I'm picking the next vacation spot.
Isn't your wife set on Portland?
Oh, yeah. Well, then I'm choosing the hotel.
But she has credit card points. Probably makes sense she does that too.
Oh, that's true. But I'm packing my own bag. And that's final.
Enjoy the power of comparing auto rates from us and other insurance companies with Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
In Romans 9, Paul answers the objection that it's not fair for God to blame people for doing what he ordained they would do.
Paul gives two responses. First is, who are you to say that it's unfair for God to blame people? And second is, the potter, God, is free to mold the clay, it's us, however he wants. And that leads us to ask, so in what sense do we have a free will? When we try to make sense of God's absolute sovereignty and human responsibility, we tend to be adamant that we have a free will. Fair enough. Everything in our experience confirms that our choices are genuine choices. But here's the problem. Many of us presuppose that because our choices are genuine choices, that therefore God cannot ordain our free choices. Otherwise, we may wrongly conclude God would be guilty of forcing us to sin. So some people argue that God does not ordain who will believe in Christ and who will reject Christ because he wants a genuine, loving relationship, not a mechanical, pre-programmed, locked out love. But that view contradicts what God has revealed in the Bible. It assumes a definition of free will that's not in the Bible, and then it explains away what the Bible explicitly teaches about God's meticulous sovereignty, which includes the eternal destiny of every human. So what are some analogies for free will here? A good analogy can help us make sense of complex concepts. Before I share some analogies, I'd like to first lay a foundation to build on. So the foundational truth here is that God, the Creator, is distinct from his creation. So the Creator, creature distinction is just, it's fundamental to rightly understanding reality. So God created the universe, and he's distinct from his creation. God's not part of creation. And it's not as if God is like a gigantic elephant while we're like gnats. Nope. God is not the biggest, most powerful, most knowledgeable creature within creation. God's not a creature. The difference between God and not God is the bedrock for making sense of how God's sovereignty and human responsibility are compatible. So now we're ready for two analogies. I'll start with the terrible one and then give a useful one. Here's the terrible analogy of a girl and her doll. Some object that God's ordaining everything makes God unjust. Something like this scenario of a girl playing with her doll. So imagine a girl, I have 4 daughters. Imagine a girl, she's sternly commanding her doll to stay on her bed. But then while playing with her doll, she intentionally pushes the doll from the bed to the floor. And then she scolds the doll, spanks the doll, bad doll. And that's a terrible analogy for at least 2 reasons. First, the doll lacks self-consciousness, and thus it's not morally responsible. And second, God doesn't exercise authority over his creation by forcing or manipulating. If God were within creation, if there weren't a creator distinction, then his meticulous sovereignty really would displace and remove our freedom. And that would make him a cosmic tyrant. But God is not within creation. God's not a creature. So now let's consider a useful analogy, a novelist and the characters in a story. So let's pick a story. In C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the character Edmund betrays some people. I won't tell you which people because I don't want to ruin it. If you haven't read it, go read it. So who's responsible for that betrayal? Edmund or C.S. Lewis? And they share responsibility, so 50% Edmund, 50% Lewis, 75% Edmund, 25% Lewis. No, Edmund is fully responsible, and Lewis is fully responsible, but they are responsible in different senses. Edmund is fully responsible as a creature, a character in a fictional story. Lewis is fully responsible as the creator, the author of the fictional story. So Lewis, the author, ordained what Edmund, the creature, the character, freely chose to do. Edmund has moral responsibility for his choices. This does not. That's something like what we mean when we say that God, the Creator, ordained what humans, the creatures, freely choose to do. The Creator has authority over his creation, like a novelist has authority over his story. And God can do way better than write a fictional story. He can design the universe with complex characters who freely and responsibly choose precisely what he ordains. And by the way, if it offends you to be compared to a character in a fictional story, just remember the Bible repeatedly compares God to a potter and you to a clay pot.
Hey, Spotify, click or tap the banner to listen to Feed Myself, the hip-hop playlist that's a whole movie. Brought to you by Vitamin Water. Grab a vitamin water today.
The things that fed my prayer life are really, I try to turn it
Towards the winter with Big A's cheesy melt, the classic bacon is from a Swiss roll, For a successful stint in the great outdoors, pack accordingly. Place heavy essentials and supplies with stability in rough terrain with light items near the bottom. Now, you may be wondering, what does the bush like do?
grade, and then all that something to that grade, but because that's again one thing. It becomes the you have it kills the ability to spray. If you're almost the 15 years old, yeah, right. Very hard. So I'm very prayer is conduit into ministry here. And my dad got that, and I saw it. So I think it's saying something like that. So you're going to call you're saying have difference in anytime you might between orders and I actually this is like you and you really I'm sorry, I'm going to have information. And you think the most important thing. I mean, it's not this, but learn that way. It's great to use. I can share more about that. I take a college. I'm a manager. I'm managing well. I learned that if you like that, you manage people. You don't get on management. Yeah. Also, I guess we want to leave our gift, but it's a gift of spirit. The spirit has to gift from spirit. You're alive in life prayer. Yeah. I want to learn the I had a couple of stories about continuing nature of my life with a patient chairs every morning. All that but you want to take her phone, and I got some life to she's got to we know why, and I went to her and I went to pray, and I went to pray with her. And it's a typical simple, Jesus quiet heart with things like prayer. And in that prayer, I know that I say, I understand the ability to grow the Jewish person and the Jewish person. And then I went to the last time, I had all that and that's in March you lose, I go home to pray in March you lose, and these talkers, we go to the street, and these talkers have street, we're having to together. And then I tried to do all the all this, and then I was praying, and then I actually was praying for her, and watching all the stuff like that, and that's what I was watching her, and stuff, so I had to teach him. So I was like, that's what I was doing, I do this all the time, I teach seals, and we're so and actually Jill, running down the different 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 and I like when you Jill, and she's not like this, and she's like on, and I like this story, and watching the president of the and that's the way, that's the part of the thing, is the videos of the series that I also watch here, you can see, I think that mirror, I think that she's similar, I think that my life, and I think it's so yeah, I do see people, sort of being just how and there's it's like just very much I've done far better than so that's where all this stuff slow work plan out there. And that's why I don't know how to solve these classes, but how to solve it in life, and how to solve it in there's wrong, and how we find out. Usually it's just doesn't really help in life, and so and there's no different and another also like you having different in the church. And often the education of all this is really just down there. You said put in the way it's all made people and a lot of pastors and they're all about that. So how do you train? And there's no other help like pastor churches. So how do you train? Yeah, and then I encourage all these, and then because you have that, it's starting to see, first of all, the shows and virgins, and I just think that not only is and I challenge that stuff in prayer. And probably behind the way of praying is going with him, for that week, and he needs a prayer. So I took the side of the side, so if you take things out of the power, for the second, you're going to later down your life, and I can talk about it, so these
You could try eating spicy peppers to deal with nicotine cravings. Or X Program can help you find a quit that sticks. Join for free. Text X Program to 88709. Message and data rates may apply.
With Smart Water's pure, crisp taste, there's nothing to overthink.
So while you may be spiraling over whatever the heck red light therapy is, don't overthink how you hydrate. Life's full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one.
It's melt season at Burger King,
which means it's time to reward yourself for all that you do with a warm, cheesy BK melt. Choose between classic, bacon, or shrilling Swiss for only $4.99. Seize the melty moment and enjoy.
You're seasoned today at BK. Have it your way. You're wrong.
Made with 2 Whopper Junior patties. Limited time at participating U.S. Burger King restaurants. Price may vary.
Mama, what are we doing at Walgreens?
Today we're getting vaccinated. Come on, let's go, go, go.
Hi, checking in for your flu shot?
Yes, all 6 of us.
All right. Name?
The Veloce family.
This is not just flu shots at Walgreens. This is protection for the family that doesn't have time to get sick. Vaccine appointments made easy, even for your busy schedule.
Schedule free flu and COVID-19 vaccines online today.
No cost to you with most insurance. Vaccine subject to availability and for ages 3+. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
So the reason leadership is different in the church, and particularly from the pulpit, than what our culture expects, is because Jesus flipped the leadership script. Right? He said, if you want to be first and greatest, you must be lowly and last. And when he began to help his disciples and followers understand that, we then have a responsibility as leaders to kind of adopt that, not just mentality, but that philosophy. How are we actually going to lead well through service? Our culture doesn't know how to distinguish the two, because oftentimes when they see or hear a preacher, they may hear boldness. They may hear some direct authority kind of element to it. But they can't distinguish between what we would see as the confidence we have because of our convictions in God's Word. They can't distinguish that from conceit or arrogance. And so there's a little confusion, not just in the model what Jesus kind of authorized and encouraged us to think about leadership as, but they can mistake or misunderstand what we're doing by way of leadership and how we're doing it. So when you think about, well, how should you then lead as a servant from the pulpit? Expositional leadership is really more about posture than position. So it's not about the title, it's not about the person with the microphone who's standing up there. It's about the disposition that we communicate with that demonstrates genuine care and compassion, but also not just through our attitudes and actions, what we're saying, about what we're saying, who we're saying it for. We ultimately serve at the King's pleasure, and we're serving the King's people. If we'll keep those things in mind, it humbles us to communicate with conviction, but to love our people, to lead our people, to shepherd them well, and to ultimately be a strange attraction to a culture that says, this leadership looks different. And for a while, a lot of them sit in a very short linear fashion. When I was still, I believe this, then I learned this, then I found this, then I believe this. Very simple. Yes, very simple. I come from a Jewish background, and being raised in a Jewish background, we don't need to do these things. When I was growing up, the time Jesus was attached to those people who are already very academics, very Jews, German Christian nation, they didn't want us, so we don't need to do that. So for a long time, I had Christian friends who would say things like, no, I want to do that. And then at the same time, there was this attraction of like, why is it that these people, they seem to know God in personal life, they talk to him about everything, they pray about everything, they pray in English. And so there's sort of this, no, I'm not going to I'm back and forth kind of thing. And I began to tell about how I run this economic experience with my son, and I learned about switch factors, and switch factors make it possible for me to go back and forth, back and forth, so I can get my hands on switch factors. It's this back and forth, it's switch factors, it's flying straight up, and I can bring it up. I think that's more the image of how people some level of sense, I think it's not present. I know my story is trying to actually I'm sure I'm thinking that I'll have this year, I think about God, about here, and every Saturday, Friday night, every Saturday night, I'm great people. I'm looking some Friday night, Saturday, Saturday, and both of those. But that's what that's my year. It's not here still. I'm not and then I say using kind of this year when I have my son, and I'm starting to use it. But again, it was back and forth to that kind of thing. Then I got the point of basically turn around and look at it and oh, this was kind of the end. 3 or 4 years. You can go fast. I was looking for testing. I was like, that's your person, and that's all very much. So there's certain truths in life that this time here. So for a lot of us, it's exactly the opposite of what you were about. So and I probably understand. I'm seeing into it. Jesus was the thing. That's it. And so the first one, I'm kidding. Just boy, God became flesh. That's crazy. And so the first thing, a lot of people believe this. All right, so maybe I should be so listening. For some people, this. No, God actually chose to reveal himself. For a whole Bible, this is crazy. He didn't write to reveal himself. And then people kind of sit there. I think it's just stick like there. That's true. It's true. Yes, it's true. It is true. For a lot of people, it's kind of like sitting there. Oh, but that's a Christian. Is it? You can a whole lot of stuff. A lot of people about sin, about Jesus, about the Bible. So realize most of it is and then I say everything. A whole lot of this. It's different. Yeah, but that's fine. Let's try to make some book in my brain. And I'll tell you. I mean, it's no. And I try out these ideas as well. And I do this for this is what I'm doing. I'm ready to talk about all consider faith and all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to defensive or I'm trying to read. And very quickly read it. I wasn't saying I'm saying I think it's like we all know this faith. The whole myth is not just oh, and I'm saying like I think it's anything is not and I'm going to say the one first and then I'm going to so I'm going to go to the trying to get it and hold on I need to talk. I don't think the story is the story first anyway. So what you do is the story which is to do all the information. So that's why the story and I know the story all the story and everything and nobody knows this part of that thing. So I know this was easier to look great. And then I heard about it. And you think
So I think so kind of those things about things that are so we're going to be and it's what are you and they're going to go on these. But never switch to the left. I'm going to be there to so I heard you go together and say, let's take that path. So it's not going to you can say if you want. When you talk, you can I was talking other people like hearing first thing or later about I think all that is happening because it's amazing. It's telling you don't. So you're going to be like that's the person who's here to get it. Well, you don't know. You understand and you're something said I'm not trying to hear sorry. A lot of people said I'm I would also cover because like well tell them they're not crazy. They're not doing themselves. It's probably around their lives. There's like that times that we have to get to that's reality being human living in all the world living in a time between times we have the revelation of the cross but still waiting for the second coming. So I think that was probably I might tell that person all their business all they about so it's not just I say you need to and I try to say certain things like that. We live out in the and try I think that I got and that they're forcing to get out and that they try to so I had a lot of things in my and there's also things we need to live and I don't feel such a good but in that I myself there's something the one I'm not going to see things all things really a lot of things we're also saying this is where you're and I should be sitting and do There's a posture that I see. I see more less today. There was a time when the posture. Learn more at Xbox.com. Do all this politics and gentleness and stuff. There was a time when it wasn't very good. I think there's tremendous jealous respect now in the politics world. I'm very good. So I'm thinking you're different using that. Well, you're using it in your lives. Now you can think like no special thing like this for your friends. But you can sometimes you can sometimes these out the I guess initial staff how you talk to yourself. There's one trying to quality and stuff like that. Every day you try these world things and homes that I can't find out. Yeah, and I just figured out and whatever help I might be able to find. What is going to need what else is going to do. So we are I struggle with training and I go back to lessons I learned and repeating everything that I regress with and get on my knees and that's what God like the limit songs love for me. How long will you let this kind of work? So I think there's a limiting load of being in the world at this point God's plan of saving. I want to tell people wise by details. I want to say that but I want to dig into them and either the first time study or remind yourself when you last study what are some of the best answers that have been given about this topic. So it's about the love pain and I read some books about pain or read some things that or read others books and walking about things. These difficult books you want to read them, you watch the YouTube videos, you answers, it's painful to dig into. But I also want to say that there's temptation to walk away from God in these times. Well then that's walking into the worst way. The living apart from God's answers leads you another set of answers that are presented that are no help at all. The atheists, there's probably atheists and atheists really walking away from well the atheist explanation is there's no hope in it, no resources to be a good friend, somebody else suffering. You walk away from the resource of prayer and you have hope in the midst of not having answer. So with all of its incompleteness, the Christian incomplete answer is a million times better than the skeptic atheist. And we look at the of that. The atheist raw ugly and say, okay, I'm going to clean the Christian one. You ask the questions still there are parts of my heart that I live. There's a whole bunch of that help you get through things. It's all good. It's everything time. One that overcomes what Christianity will do this in the suffering story. We have these for violence happen. You have a definitive way of all this. Because we do that and also because your mind is rational because Christians feeding ourselves and showing down there. We're looking at the atheists, other making things. You're going to say that's a yeah, and you don't have to get too far to find some stories of skeptics and atheists. And what they said, yes, how they feel about it. And it's pretty and so try to joke about it. And then also you are strong Christians and take your life. Try your honest name, right? You know that one of them who's going to be there and arguing for 50 years still say I say praise to Jesus. And there are lots of people like that. I mentioned this also sign in the chapter of look at why is it that so many African Americans become Christians and became Christians at a time when they were enslaved by white people who Christians. Why in the world would they latch onto religion? There's something about that faith that is strong and solid and good. Apart from like the history of our Fred said, you're going to do things like this. That's not like it. But you can't say that every day. That's nonsense. And yet when you hear the gospel preached, those kinds of stories you can grab us and say, wait a minute, okay, I see people what is every day to take away claim that they're doing this. So I kind of make other people and compare very, very disparate stories of faith. That's because I mentioned that so how does it strong down as the opposite. We often stories of Christians. Those supposed to have a true of God. I mean, that's not just true. This is how Christian. Yeah, that's very true. I'm trying to like people. I don't know if people are. I'm also I use it. You can actually learn to get most but can't minimize it. We somehow want to make a distinction between those very bad displays of the gospel and Jesus. We only have to live lives. I hope someone asks this question, and what I'm saying is, yeah, that's a terrible. Like, I still think Jesus is wrong, but I don't know what you're doing. I like chapter. Jesus is so great question all over the church, and I said that with the church. The church chapter. I think it's like you just lock on the church. Wait, years, parents. They say, I'm running church, and I've seen many questions. And I have this terrible thing. So I think it's right. Yeah, I understand. I think if I would see some of that stuff, I also when I get back, I look at there are people who have we're not sure we can they did. But there's Christians who do these things. So I guess I look at the landscape as close as possible. So I think it's something really get out of it. How to bear like some people do anything. How to bear like somebody else. I don't know if point. We want to say there's a lot of numbers. I mean, there's a lot of numbers. A lot of numbers. No, that's right. I think the process of what you guys are thinking about. You don't think that you have this code all going on. That shouldn't make that much. There is an outrage in that. There's an outrage in that. And one point is that the fact that this box is a point of the fact that this is right and wrong. Sin should serve something. So we don't need to if you want to know that because another guy capacity that person has all different things and if I got to build it, I can eat one university or one university and then how many sure that Christianity all this is that point. And we can say look at this world. I would say yeah. No, well, I'm saying of the world on the surface, and on the surface, I'm saying this was really important. So I have to do the study further and to see how it is. And there's a point where I'm going to say God has made something, and it's possible people do this where we elsewhere, we're trying to find answers. But this is always about this is just part of the so very well connected with civilization, and that's more obvious. But it's a problem in ancient Israel where Jewish people do only worship the true God. And you read the prophets, and these are really strong condemnations of worshiping other gods. And that's what religions are, they're worshiping other gods. So this has always been a narrow problem for Jews, not being always surrounded by people who believe other gods. I think it's a very recent modern thing in the last 100 years, so they're really worshiping the same God. It is worshiping in different ways. Well, if you really think it, we're going to have a good conversation with a sincere and pure another religion, you'll find out that they worship the same God. The Bible does not believe that Allah is the same God as God. They didn't find out wrong. Right? We talk to Buddhists, we know Jesus is not Jewish. One God and say that another God. Buddhism is the person God that you talk to about a name. And so it's sort of these people who are outside who look on a very surface kind of ways. I think we do the same thing. And guys are whole Christians Muslims worship the same God. You think they're operating in Islam, these Christians operating in Islam, those Quranists, Islamic teachers, they think they're worshiping the God of the Bible. That's kind of a secular thing that secular professors of religious studies classes have come up with. But it doesn't have much substance to it. Another very important question is so the Christianity forces people into a very small box. The Bible defines us as we are. We should be powerful to live, who to love, all these things are very restricting on these things. This is what it's kind of if you're around, you might get the yourself to be Christianity is so restricted. How do you talk? Well, I would say in the past for us, Christians preparing how to answer questions has sort of three-stage process of answering. So the first stage is I want to make sure you understand the question. So if I hear a question, I ask more questions. I want to make sure that I'm really answering the question the person asking me. Secondly, I want to think, okay, what's the answer? What does the Bible say? And then the third is the one that people more knows is what do I say? I don't just start with, well, your Bible says there. God said how do you do that? I mean, that may be theologically right and philosophically right, but it really helps the person that you're talking to understand or move from error. And so there's a lot of wisdom that you need to do your homework and the Bible. Then there's one start. So I'm not going to get I say, yeah, I help someone understand. I come back to the I started this it's much more understanding addressing something else. So we need to study the methodology of Jesus answering questions. And we answer. But he's doing it the right way. That's actually the right way. Good people study the right. It's a pretty important question. What's the answer? Well, Jesus should have said. But some of us would say that's great. Legal Christ and receiving the Spirit and say, or you say, well, the question why is that Christ working and the word of the Lord and say that's theology. And that's right and that's true. And eventually that's what I need to hear. But what did Jesus say? Jesus said, why you good? And the right good. You must get the I just know what to do. I have no idea. Jesus saying, you still have got to realize how impossible it is for you to say yourself. I don't like that. So the question is Christianity and it doesn't tell me I can't trust it. I think I think a lot of things about that. It's telling me I can't sleep with whoever I want to sleep with. Right? Yes, that's the answer. But you just quote that. You just quote a publisher that God is one and one there. You didn't know. You didn't connect with them in 10 steps. So we need to do the baseline. What do I say to you? And so what I say to you is, well, don't we say there should be some limitation? I'm a married man. I've been myself faithful to one woman. If I said to my wife, hey, I think this is too narrow. I want to go do things with other people. I'm a terrible harm to her. I'm hurting her. I'm things that I think is wrong. I said I would be faithful to her. I set an example for children. I don't do things that are destructive. I want to think should be someone. I want her to go, yeah, there should be something. How do you turn around and talk? I like it is God that said this. We must love God. We know what's best for us. And we need unlimited investment. That's a very modern, secular view. It just came on fairly recently. It's still being relevant. I do it. Yeah, but it's but so now celebrate. All right, there should be something about what we say. And what I say is, there's a say, we need to make it comfortable before we get comfortable. Make it very comfortable. I want to get them uncomfortable about money. Really, that really gets you. At some point when you say, oh, I love to say, I love to everything. Make it very very travel. It's you just turn the question around one of the people. Here, I help you think about this. I think our culture likes slogans, tweets, things no more than 100 characters, and you'll sometimes talk about this. It's I'm not going to over here talking about stories. I'm going to take leadership about I try to make this one of the things that I say. One example of and how to do it. Like I'm surfing the news like it has a good role in my own because these are the to be like I think something like this is just on my mind to be connected to the transcendent body and everything. All these people are but these people are gone. So this said all those things you're not yourself and there's one thing so this is his sermon we already said books are beautiful. You'll be playing you'll be trusting them. You'll not knowing through them. Everything through them. All these things beauty and real past are the images of what you're trying. But if they want to say things themselves, they turn into dumb idols, breaking the hearts of other worshippers. They are not they all send all we have time. I have heard I just love that quote. And that inside, I think trust everybody because it makes the hearts of other worshippers. You find a person that says, oh, this person get away. You found music that just doesn't or go to a place, I met God and then back to it. But you know those wonders. Do not forget this what he said in the Bible. Just welcome and just keep the point and every person. Make it easy. I think I trust these things and everything. So it's every one of them. I'm ready to money for talking about it. Or talking about question thing. It represents me to raise that. We are over time. Ready over time. Talk about it. Talk about it. This is talking about it. Talk about it. You just share the right things. I was not watching this. So first, then we cover. This is it.
VT Help Link, help is always available because recovery is always possible. Talk to us about alcohol or other substance use. Find resources and treatment that are right for you. Get help that's free, confidential, and always there. And find the pathway to your recovery. Call 802-565-LINK or visit vthelplink.org. Mama, what are we doing at Walgreens?
Today we're getting vaccinated. Come on, let's go, go, go.
Hi, checking in for your flu shot?
Yes, all 6 of us.
All right. Name?
The Veloce family.
This is not just flu shots at Walgreens. This is protection for the family that doesn't have time to get sick. Vaccine appointments made easy, even for your busy schedule.
Schedule free flu and COVID-19 vaccines online today. No cost to you with most insurance. Vaccine subject to availability and for ages 3+. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
When you have to stop but don't really want to, stop at BP. Because BP has everything you need to keep it going. Fuel to keep the adventures going. The BP Me app to keep the savings and the commutes going. Snacks and drinks to keep the crew going. And the BP Me Rewards Visa to keep the rewards going and going and going. A stop at BP isn't a stop at all. Keep it going.
Practically speaking, no one does. No one forgets the past. No one doesn't live with a historical narrative for how they got here. The question is whether or not the narrative's right or helpful or accurate. But actually, we all do. Like you and I, if you've seen the movie Inception, there's this lovely moment where Leonardo DiCaprio is trying to teach Ellen Page about how you plant things in dreams, and because actually in a dream, you never get, how did you get to this place? You never ask that question in a dream. You just find yourself somewhere. But actually, the reason you know it's not real life is because there's no backstory. Because in real life, we all tell a backstory. That's how we make sense of things. And even if it's very inaccurate, even if it's, well, the world, used to be completely Christian and everyone died of plague and ate turnips and burned witches, and then Europeans went, hey, let's discover knowledge, and everyone started reading and writing, and now we're here. It's a terrible version of the story, but it is at least a story that we have. So I don't think anyone doesn't have a sense of the past. Instead, what happens is people have very often either very simplified or very inaccurate terms of the past. And if that happens, then this is a George Orwell thing that he writes in 1984. He's just lived through the Second World War and writes, I think, one of the greatest novels ever written, to describe a world in which people with power control your understanding of the past. Because Orwell says, yes, if you control the past, you control if you control the present, you control people's view of the past, and if you control their view of the past, you can control their future. Because you can say, don't you realize that if people, in the past, when people have believed X, it has led them to do Y, therefore never do Y, or never believe X. And that happens all the time in the modern world. Don't you realize when Christians used to rule the world, they burned everybody? Or that sort of, The Handmaid's Tale would be an example. This is the kind of thing, it's an implicit historical appeal, but a bogus story that leads people to constrain the choices you might make in the present and say, we don't want that kind of thing. And you do that often through control of narrative. And by the way, Christians do that. So, and there are bad Christian tellings in this story as well. We used to be an upstanding Christian nation, and these terrible secularists took over, and now look where we are, and it's all caused this and that. You wouldn't treat that way if you were an African American, or whatever it is. So actually, there's all kinds of versions of the story where people now, with influence, this is what Orwell is saying, try and control the past, because they know that if you do control the past, the kind of decisions people make now and the future they have will be under your power as well. So I think, in that sense, an accurate, or at least an integrated, coherent historical narrative is actually a very important thing to some degree, for all of us as disciples to understand that that's not a fair telling of how we got where we are. And if we swallow that rather thin account of where we are, we could end up making some really bad decisions and end up jeopardizing our future as well. So that's why I think we all have a backstory. The question is it a good one? And obviously part of what I'm hoping to do in this book is to provide an integrated, coherent one that might draw some words together better than some versions of the story.
Leadership is different in the church, and particularly from the pulpit, than what our culture expects. It's because Jesus flipped the leadership script, right? He said, if you want to be first and greatest, you must be lowly and last. And when he began to help his disciples and followers understand that, we then have a responsibility as leaders to
tap the banner to listen
kind of
to
adopt
Mint,
that, not just
the world's
mentality,
biggest dance
but
and
that
electronic
philosophy.
hits.
How are
Brought
we
to you
actually
by
going
Vitamin
to
Water.
lead well
Grab a
through
Vitamin Water
service?
today.
Our culture doesn't know how to distinguish the two, because oftentimes when
order
they see or
McDonald's
hear
right
a
now,
preacher,
you're one step
they
closer
may
to
hear
your
boldness,
first bite,
they may
and
hear
nothing tastes as
some
good.
direct
Get a 10-piece
authority,
chicken McNuggets for just
elements of it. But they can't
$1
distinguish
only in the
between
app.
what we would see as the confidence we have because of our convictions in God's Word. They can't distinguish that from conceit or arrogance. And so there's a little confusion, not just in the model what Jesus kind of authorized and encouraged us to think about leadership as, but they can mistake or misunderstand what we're doing by way of leadership and how we're doing it. So when you think about, well, how should you then lead as a servant from the pulpit? Expositional leadership is really more about posture than position. So it's not about the title, it's not about the person with the microphone or standing up there. It's about the disposition
when you have to stop but don't really want to, stop
that
at
demonstrates
BP.
genuine
Because
care
BP
and
has
compassion,
everything you need to keep
but
it
also
going.
not just through our attitudes
Fuel
and actions,
to keep the adventures
what we're
going.
saying about what
The
we're
BP
saying,
me
who
out
we're
to
saying
keep the
it for.
savings
We
and the commutes
ultimately
going.
serve at
Snacks
the King's
and drinks
pleasure,
to keep
and we're
the
serving
going.
the King's people. And if we'll keep
And
those
the
things in
BP
mind, it
rewards
humbles
Visa
us
to keep
to
the
communicate
rewards
with
going
conviction,
and going
but
and
to
going.
love our people,
A
to
stop
lead our
at
people,
BP
to shepherd
isn't a
them
stop at
well,
all.
and to ultimately be a strange
Keep it going.
attraction to a culture that says this leadership looks different.
And There's a posture that I've seen. I can say far less today, but there was a time for years where the posture in the academic world, in the apologetics world was, we have the answers, we can answer and the answer was, it was sort of this, their questions are stupid, but we have the answers. Sometimes their questions aren't good, they're supposed to be, well, sometimes yes, not always. Everyone else says, people have this question, they're really asking this question, they know all about it, sometimes they know all about it, and everything, but then you something, how can you just say this? That's not being respectful. You're supposed to do all this apologetics with gentleness and respect. And there's a time when it was very handled with respect. I think all of it. I think there's tremendous gentleness and respect now in the apologetics world because I'm a very personal friend. So I'm not going to do a difference. You need to forget that. Well, how many words need to be in their lives? Now, even when they model you, those Christians doesn't want to get difference. But even sometimes you tell struggles, you have opportunity. You have initial stab how you solve things. But the point, certainly about all means, something I see more of. Every day here, we try to use the world, and I see more that I can't reconcile with God. Now, I think this is very common, and whatever help I might be able to find, I need more help with this. I struggle with this very much. And I go back to this, and you keep it, and you think that you wrestle with it, you get on these, and that's what God has told how long will we let this be the heart? So I think everything we need to know, but being believers in the world at this point with God's plan and Savior, I don't know why right now. I want to say this out loud, but I want to dig into them and either first time study or remind yourself in practice what are some of the best answers that you get about this. So it's not about pain, and you have to read the book, pain, or you read the book, you set up something important, take book, and walk about it. You don't need to really watch the YouTube video, the answers, it's painful to dig in. But I also want to say that there's temptation to walk away from God. Well, then that's walking in the first place. Living apart from God's answers leads you to other answers that are weak, that are noble at all. The atheists, there's not even atheists, and atheists are suffering, so walk away from here. The atheists are suffering. As noble as no source of being, a good friend, nobody else suffering, walk away from source of prayer, that can use as a willingness of not being answer. So with all of this incompleteness, the Christian incompleteness answer is something like that. And you look at the ugliness of that, in its raw ugliness, okay, I'm the Christian ugliness. Yeah, so that question is still, there are parts of my heart, I don't know. There's a whole other sort of my heart that helps me from this real things. Looking at the whole house of Christianity, will do the best things in this world. You don't have the answer for all these things. You don't have a definitive answer and you learn from and also these are minds that are Christian. Be about those things. Look at these other everything things you're going to say that's a fool. Yeah, and everything is like sort of everything is. And what they said about it, how they from it. And it's pretty and so I joke about jokes and go, and then also people have people who are sponsors and take your friends. I there's many right. You look at one of the who's in a wheelchair for 50 years still say that's crazy. There are lots of people like take this whole side and I don't know something. Look at why that so many African Americans and English and when they were enslaved by white people in the world, they might want to religion of religion. There must be something about a faith that is strong and solid and good. Apart from it, it's really hard to do. Said, you really think about it. I can't even but you can't sleep every day. Because Sunday, that's and that was pretty complicated. Those kinds of stories you balance and say, okay, I've seen people start looking at these things I kind of think better about other people and care very disparate stories. That's because I mean, don't be certainly not as a toxic person. We often stories those supposed to have a relationship with God. I mean, that's not just cool. This is something else. So how can I be a chance to do this power? Yeah, the church, I wouldn't find it like I don't look at it like I also I did but can't limit myself. We somehow want to make a distinction between those very bad displays of the gospel and Jesus. We don't have to live lives. I hope someone asks this question, and what I'm saying is, yeah, that's really like I still think these are wrong, but I don't first put together I like after so they like all the church and I think somebody in the culture like the church chapter. It's something you just lock on the church people walking for years they say my God and I've seen and maybe watching more so I think so I think it's right is yeah I've seen I've seen so that's I might but like that at least I think there are people who are not really useful they did so I guess we're landscape full of I think it's really all the people taking out of the so it's doing anything and how to wear somebody want to show that they're so those are is not going to you must say it's all I mean all like they're got to use a lot of that okay no that's okay you can have a process that is so all that should be there is outrage in that and what the fact is love is what you're saying is right and wrong is sin should serve so you don't have to be one of the things because another person has to be all the things and I got to be all the things one year and it's pretty sure that Christianity all it is and look say look all these I was so they have I'll say some people on surface and on the surface and see what's going on and see how it is and there's one where I want to say God and it's not people that were but it's always this is already so we're going to but the problem is where we do only what you do and it's really small underneath the word and that's what we are so this has always been a narrow problem for God even always about people who believe other gods I think the very recent modern thing in the last 100 years ago I don't know they're worshiping the same God they just worship him in different ways well if you really dig in we're talking about good conversation with a sincere and here another religion you'll find out that they're worshiping the same God but the problem is not
What's better than peanut butter? When you combine peanut butter with the delicious bite-sized chocolate of M&M's. Take a bite of toppable peanut butter minis for a moment of delicious fun. M&M's peanut butter minis for all fun times. Buy M&M's peanut butter minis.
addressing some details. So we need to study the methodology of Jesus' answer to the question.
With smart water as a pure crystal, there's nothing over it. So while you may be spiraling over whatever the heck red light therapy is, don't overthink how you hydrate. Life's full of choices. Smart water is the simple way. When you have to stop but don't really want to, stop at BP. Because BP has everything you need to keep it going. Fuel to keep the adventures going. The BP Me app to keep the savings and the beats. Snacks and drinks to keep the crew going. And the BP Me Rewards Visa to keep the rewards going and going and going. A stop at BP isn't a stop at all. Keep it going.
Hey, this is too narrow. I want to go do things with other people. I'm doing terrible harm to her. I'm hurting her deeply. I'm violating things that I've made commitments before God. I said I would be faithful to them before. I'm setting an example for my children and my grandchildren about living things that are destructive. Shouldn't there be some limits? And I want the person to go, yeah, there should be some limits. Okay, how do you figure out those limits? And my answer is, God does set limits because He's a loving God. He knows what is best for us. And we think unlimited is best. Well, that's a very modern, secular view that just came on fairly recently. As people think how to do it. Yeah, but so now celebrate. There should be some limits about what we say. And what I'm trying to say is, in a certain kind of say, we need to make people uncomfortable before we bring them comfort to do things. And they get very comfortable. I was going to I want to get them to be uncomfortable about really that way. That really good. At some point when you say, oh, I love to say, why do you got here recently? And he just turns around, it's very good. 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 And you just turn the person around one of the people. I don't know how you think about this, but I think our culture that likes slogans, tweets, things no more than 100 characters, and there's some topics, there's a lot of topics. And you're going to talk about wrestling, God, wrestling, okay. I turn to God, and you just look at the focus, and people like that. And some kind of thing, and it has such a good role. I don't think I think sometimes here people doesn't want my use to transcend God, and everything. Some people do others, but then these people are on. So Lewis said that all those things are pointers. They're not yourself. They're not there. There's something else in the relationship. So he put in his sermon the week before. He said, "So you can be thought to be looking. You'll be trained to be trusted. It's not. These things you need. They're your own past. They're images of what you're doing. These aren't things up. They turn into dumb lights. They aren't stuff. They are things up. They all send flower around. People who have heard news or everything. And that inside that you trust, that you breaks the heart. You find a person to God. You found these things that just other. You turn away, and that's how you lose these things last before. You go to a place. I met God in this place, and then back in. But you really those pointers. Because God created. It's what He said. When it comes water from within, it just keeps overflowing, and then we first bring it to us. I got two rest of these. I got something in this. Once you guys want to have thanks. Training on your workout. Promote your prospect. Watching it. In reference to the things that they were doing. Or even before you go.
Jonathan Edwards preached a sermon where he distinguished between evangelical humiliation and legal humiliation. You have to love the Puritan, old-fashioned language. So legal humiliation, or today we might say humility, or the process of becoming humble, this is something that even the demons experience. You know, he references James 2, where the demons shudder at God. This is a kind of humility that you don't need an awakened heart to experience. Anybody can experience this. It just comes from a sense of God's majesty and dreadfulness and power. We're you're sort of cowering before God. And then he speaks about evangelical humility. And the word he uses for what produces this kind of humility is the loveliness of God. And he's saying for an awakened heart, a heart that's been touched by grace, that's been touched by the gospel, there's a different kind of humility that is produced by that. When you think about what Jesus did for you, and it really cracks open in your heart that even for me, despite all of my problems and my repeated cycles of problems, God actually loves me. And my sins are actually forgiven. There's a kind of humility that God awakens in our hearts when we genuinely find ourselves loving and adoring and thanking God. And the metaphor that I use to describe this that helps me think about it is, imagine you walk into a great vast throne room, and the king is sitting up on his exalted throne, and your footsteps are echoing on the marble floor, and the ceiling is way high above, and gold is glittering around, and it's very intimidating to stand before the king. This is one kind of feeling of humility. This is what anybody could feel in approaching God's throne. But then suppose that the king gets off of his throne, he comes to meet you, he embraces you, he expresses his relief that you're alive, he ushers you over to his seat, you receive breakfast from him, and you eat and you dine with him, you fellowship with him, you talk with him. This is another experience that's also incredibly humbling, but it's humbling in a different way. You experience this humanness, humbles you to the dust. And this is what we should feel like before God as we gospel. We think of the love of God as come down with speed and becoming a kind of living Lord life, submitting not only to God for our salvation. This is what God has done for us. And we truly contemplate the wonder of that. It produces more than just kind of trembling before God. And that's important, and that's a precondition. But it also produces this awareness that the kindness of God, the loveliness of God, awakens this new kind of humility in us. And we think, how could we ever boast again when God has been this way to us?
Politics. It seemingly made a concept of lives. Whether politics or not, sometimes it feels like it's the constant of the news that is even church. The raising of how should Christians take on the intersection of politics today, especially when it comes to church? As today's conversation, in our conversation, we discuss the doctrine of spirituality in church. The doctrine of spirituality in church is today. While problems, organizations, institutions, including themselves as individual Christians, and should engage in the sphere. The doctrine of spirituality in church emphasizes that the church alone has been trusted mission proclaiming the good news of the gospel, the lost and our and the church alone must remain focused on that portion. As a church history, and America falls center, and it's about the various including empowerment, politics, culture, and spiritual mission of church. Let's start. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for joining me today on God's It's my great pleasure to be here. So you're going to be hearing about the doctrine of spirituality in the church, which on the surface seems rather straightforward, obvious, and non-controversial kind of doctrine. I mean, nothing really good. There's a lot going on with that seeming simple name for doctrine. So I'll give you everything. Summarize what is the doctrine of spirituality in the church. Well, maybe I've just been saying one of the reasons that it is controversial is because it's been badly used. So if something is badly used, the phrase we have is like it's a lack of used. The wrong use of something doesn't mean that's the right use. But sometimes something that's the wrong use, we're covered and say let's aim for a better use of it. Yeah, one of the challenges with this doctrine is it came to be in the Reformation, particularly in the Scottish context, where you had the king being the head of the church and the Scots said, you don't think the king should be the head of the church. They weren't physically in the theory. And they said Jesus Christ is the head of the church, and the church is own proper institution. It's not under the state. Nor is probably the code saying that it's under the church is under the state. The church is under the institution under God. Each one under the So the idea that the church would be over the state is now the spiritual independency of the church. I mean, church isn't probably under the state. It's an institution under God, which is the king. And so that kind of language got kicked off in the 19th century in America. And instead of sexual independency, it's in the spirituality of the church. But it got used, especially by some southern theologians, Presbyterians, we call them the Baptists, and others. And that language got used in a way that was to quiet the church, that shut the church off from saying that about institutions like. In other words, they didn't think that the church should be as a spiritual institution. It's not something that was essentially a political matter. And Charles Hodge of Princeton, who was the great theologian of the 19th century, 20th century, he came into this discussion and wanted to buy this what he called muzzling the prophetic voice of the church. The source of the church should muzzle the prophetic voice of the church because the church has a moral place to speak about slavery. He thought that slavery, human emancipation, he thought the church in the 18th century had adopted unanimous motion saying slavery and it's a very helpful to him. And then I put it this way, when it just became really much more profitable, slavery became much more profitable, especially in the 18th century. They call that rigorous they had to take out spiritual, that doctrine of Scott had a spiritual identity. It's a spirituality of the church. It means the church really should be it's not church business, it's the state's business. But Hodge said, well, the church business is about what about the rest. So I feel like nuances in life, actually, one of the things that really issues is more issues that church about it's air science doctrine that spirituality of the church as a team attacking the church against missionary. So not exactly missionary code talking about because it's really about what is the church. And to talk about spirituality of the church is to understand the church is a spiritual institution, a state, a civil institution, and a biological institution. When we say it's a spiritual institution, well, what Hodge really was is an institution that is created by the Holy Spirit. How is the Holy Spirit? It's called the Holy Spirit to you in a way that cannot be the church. And Hodge at the end of the book 2 is as long as Christ remains outside of us, he does no good. It's the Spirit that brings Christ and Christ us. And Hodge and others take that out of prison as theologians of the Holy Spirit themselves. And they say the Holy Spirit creates the church. He gathers the church by means of grace, preaching sacraments, prayer. He gathers the church and he perfects the church. That's the language of the confession. We can today say that's the cast of evangelism, gathering the church, and discipleship, perfecting the church. So the church, Jesus Christ, the church has instituted as a church, as a formal organization. We can gather the church. What marks that body, what characterizes that body is the expression that you're preaching through the sacraments of prayer of the gospel. That Jesus Christ is the first, last, our Savior, all grace. And that message is preached, and that's what we're preaching in the church, and that's what builds people up in their faith. And then that's the church has instituted. The church has instituted about the gospel. That's not about the grace of God going out, build it out. The church because it's nobody it's called It's just one more form of kind of shouting political slogans, confidential moments of our very polarized, politicized age. If the church just becomes that, it loses that. It loses proficiency. It's grasping the gospel. And if the church loses the gospel, who has the gospel? The church. It's all gospel. So, church right now, that sounds good. You want gospel sponsor our concern with you. Is that timing gospel, gospel, and what looks like the Christian need the world is Christian worldview. We really introduce things really distinct. And we might see that already. This idea is doctrine. The church is like the world with common and we see it growing in our way. It's just a galvanized way of talking about the idea of separate church and state, which is sort of not necessarily a conclusion. Well, I would say that the distinction of a civil authority and civil power from the king's power is very different. You did this to bring the theocracy because you had King Uzziah who went into the temple and said, I will assume the role of the priest, and you started talking about that was never. So you see the king in Israel being under law, not like kings around him. You try to go to the opposite. It's interesting that the king is part of the opposite. But it's not the opposite. Like other nations, the opposite. The other nations, part of the way to get that there's no distinction between priest and king like Islam. It's like the king must be a king as divine, city divine. Look at Sheba, Colorado comes to you. Colorado is taken. If you can see this in your mind, look, this is how Colorado is. And you see Sheba is the son of God. Get it, Colorado. So Colorado is the city divine. Very clear in the Old Testament that the king is not divine. He is a man who's under law, like the priest is, like the prophet is. They're all mere men who, of course, he is Savior. So it is the case. There's always a part of here's what I'm careful about. Your listeners, when they say what you say, I don't know what they're saying. You say, just put it this way. There is a common distinction. I would say, well, I just talk about
BT Help is always available. Help is always available. Talk to us about alcohol or other substances. Find resources and treatment that are right for you. Get help that's free, confidential, always there, and find a pathway to your recovery. Call 802-565-DOPE or visit
Hey, one of your PC Game Pass ads? How about unlocking all the legal series and you make your life all the low price? Guess what? We got you. Learn more at
as church is, and the quality of church is also, and it's part of spiritual mission to give a whole lot of the name of Christ. I say church, it's like we want to go it frees us to run. And then it goes to the let's say our chief goal is not political conversation. Our heart of the goal, surrounding spirit, surrounding that is how we before the found surrounding that is like I believe that whatever problems we have, and how did we have today, we have ideas about including I know other problems, like you problems, and that's to do with and others who have to do but also at the same time, also at the heart of it, it's the heart of all these no one problem I have all the conditions, I have all the and then you specifically you need to be to be and here's what I think is something that's going to talk to and there's an issue on the other hand, but we couple habits and habits. But the heart of that is always it's already talking about doing something other than bodies, doing outside of this, how to do that, and that's not here. So the church at heart is spiritual, and that's your capacity, what the capacity the church as minister at church, and that's the reality about or any but the deed, you always accompany work. You can't have it be like saying that for this ministry, the deed is going to sit in the rather than under the other, because the gospel is not being and all the capital is for that, surrounds that, encouraging that, but if we're going out doing it, it's just the outdoors for that. It's not different from other organization, that's a church organization, or the same stuff, whatever it is. And I'm not questioning you're right in it, I'm not questioning you're right in the right place. And I also think that's so hard to figure out how to church. You're not church, it should be on my right. And so what I would call your practice, I want you not to rest anything, you're absolutely right. The right is part of the church. It's sort of being built, and I would just like, let's write the church, the church, call it church. And I would say, it's part of the church. Yeah, it's all the time, and all the work, love God, love man. There's a lot of stuff called, and shows that love God, and love God. It's really the church should never tend to be religious. And they love God. Everybody, or really all the gospel. So I believe not only is this Holy Spirit about the church, not only is that not there, it's the church, it's part of the house. There's nothing to do here, that's And fine, but there's a lot of done hand in hand. Another question is, the church is offering for money to the well, all the money going towards this project for. Is this totally outside of? And because the church wants to know what I would say that the church is different, and actually believes what people have come to decades for heritage. So the heritage is here, that's what we're talking about. I just say what I would say some do something like this. People have something that I don't know, but the good thing that the church is what chooses to I don't think the church at a church should ever get into something that's okay. How about the church? Yeah, there's reasons for that. And there's also some Christian religions and people that are very forceful. That's kind of a natural thing to do. In order to do this, very good. It needs to be somebody very confident. Yeah, say I reject the forceful concern. I think it's proper that the people of the Lord are saying that always in tandem with some sort of confidence. This doesn't necessarily concern, but it means that if we're distinctly we are the church of Jesus Christ, and the thing is, if they don't want to hear that, they get from we're not called to get a cup of cold water, not in Christ's name. We're called to get a cup of cold water. So I don't think that necessarily means that somebody getting something to sit there and I don't think that we do that. But if I do that, we might have the maybe talk to them. But if we're not something like I guess you can word Christ. No, I totally believe it's correctly. It is completely cultural. Why do that? And why are we even confident to do that? Why is that a good thing? To be called to Christ and say, we're going to do it. I think it's wise about it. Yeah, I think the sermon, put it back in front of it, it's like, I don't think there's a big concern about the church decides for Christ. I think it's a good thing. I think for the reformation and that's the other thing. Good thing. Maybe we're going to church all together. My kids like to go around. Anything on YouTube takes very high. But they say, no, a lot of it's very easy to say, how many decades ago? I mean, it's not really different. This is all advertising. The point being, is the church takes a very different way. But that we should be doing it in every side. We're doing it as a church. We're not doing it as a church. We're not doing it as a church. These are church. So these are what people power was. How does that work? You have to. Well, power, of course, is Latin. And so the church is the world. It's all taken part of the Holy Spirit. And within the world is preach Christ and preach Christ and preach Christ. Paul said, I'm determined to nothing on you. The question crucified. That sounds like a very narrow concern. And it actually isn't. You might think Paul's very not concerned. Is that really bad? I don't know. It's concerned. The focus on Christ. I wish to see here. It's a narrowing. It's a narrowing. The focus on Christ. Sort of stands. The things where Jesus was here speaks. It's part of the whole. Is that it's the heart of Christ's work. It's never all of our sin. And Paul says, concerned nothing with that. It's sort of narrows down to that. Through Lens, he sees everything. So he sees all reality. You Christ and crucified. That's what he's concerned about. He's concerned about everything. But it's Christ and Christ. This is power of this thing. We are looking at the world. It's you that say we do us. And it's all our Holy Spirit for us. And God is and we preach Christ. So that spirit of the Spirit of Jesus Christ. Takes that witness every day. By his power. He takes that in the lives of others. Makes them. Brings that to them. It's the church has to know who it is. It's the church. So that it's distinct from the world. It's distinct from the world. That's Jesus gave himself to us. And then he left out and washed himself. And tells us how to serve us. And to bring this message. It's a unique process of and no other agency will bring this message. So that church is the church. It's not the church. And people will think about you. Church are our lives. Thank you. Now, straight. Zero church. The more church is the power. How is all this culture? It's zero church. We are talking about church. Or you talk about church. Right? It's talking about us. Or wait. It's talking about us. You listen to church. It's not opportunity. It's only for the true cover.